There's a moment some people have in a physics classroom, or late at night reading about the universe, where something clicks. Not like learning something new, more like remembering something you already knew. This video is about one of those moments, and whether you're religious, skeptical, or somewhere in the middle, I think this is going to stay with you. So let me be upfront about something. I'm not here to tell you the Torah is a physics textbook. Science changes, models evolve. I'm not staking a theological argument on whatever CERN publishes next. But sometimes, the structure of creation illuminates Torah in ways that are genuinely hard to dismiss. And one example has stuck with me for years. The striking structural parallel between the Jewish encampment in the wilderness and the standard model of particle physics. Not vibes, not loose metaphor, but structurally, mathematically. In Parshas Naso, the Torah lays out exactly how the Jewish people were arranged in the wilderness. On the outside, four groups of 3 tribes each, 12 tribes on 4 sides, perfectly symmetrical around the central point. Moving inward, the Levites, divided into 4 mediating groups, Gershon, Kahath, Merari, and Moshe and Aaron on the eastern side. Depending on how you count, that inner ring is 4 or 5 units. And at the absolute center, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the dwelling place of the divine presence. Write that as a mathematical structure, and you get 3, 3, 3, 4 or 5, 1. 4 outer groups of 3, a mediating layer, and 1 central entity. So hold that thought. Now let's talk about physics. The Standard Model is our best description of the fundamental building blocks of reality. Every particle, every force, everything matter is made of. Here's what it contains. 4 sets of 3 matter particles, called quarks and leptons, in 4 families, 3 members each. Their interactions are mediated by 4 force-carrying particles, the photon, the gluon, the W and Z bosons. Some physicists propose a fifth, the graviton, still unconfirmed. And all of them receive their mass through a single unique particle, the Higgs boson. Write that as a mathematical structure. 3, 3, 3, 3, break. 4 or 5, break, 1. I'll give you a second. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this goes deeper than numbers. The force-carrying particles in physics are called gauge bosons. Their job? To mediate interactions between matter particles. Without them, particles don't bind. No atoms, no molecules, no stars, no life. They are quite literally the glue holding all of reality together. And what was the role of the Levites? They connected the nation to the Mishkan. They accompanied it, protected it, mediated the people's relationship with the divine. They taught Torah. They unified the camp. The Hebrew root of the name Levi literally means to connect, to escort, to join together. The Levites were the glue of the camp, and the force carriers are the glue of matter. That's not just number matching, that's a conceptual parallel. And then we get to the center, the Higgs boson, the particle that gives mass to all other particles. Without the Higgs field, matter as we know wouldn't exist. And for decades, it was the most sought after particle in physics. Elusive, central, foundational. Nobel Prize winning physicist Leon Lederman got so frustrated trying to find it, he wanted to call it the goddamn particle. His publisher said no. They landed on the God particle. That's what it's officially named in popular science. Now, the Mishkan is literally the physical dwelling of the divine presence within the encampment. In the most direct sense imaginable, it is the God particle of the camp. A particle literally means a fixed location of energy. Both sit at the center of their model. Both are singular, one of a kind. And what that means for the Higgs boson is that physicists call it scalar, meaning that it looks the same from every angle, every orientation. It's invariant, it's one, like hamakom. Whatever direction you look at it, it's the same. And there's also only one scalar boson in all of physics. Both are elusive, and they're it's so hard to find one of them, and people are always searching for Hashem in a certain way. Both are foundational to everything around them. One is literally named after God, and the other is the God particle, I mean the dwelling place of the Shekhinah. So for those who already believe, I would also mention that this brings an important message. Bamidbar goes into great detail about how the camp moved however Hashem said. Hashem said, go, we went. He said, stop, we stopped. And we didn't know when it was going to be. And meaning that everything that it did was by divine decree. And so we look at these particles, which are so elusive and so hard to understand, and they move at the fastest speeds that anything can move at, and they seem to have like a mind of their own. And even that, Hashem is saying, that moves according to divine decree. And furthermore, everything is made of these particles. So from this you can derive that the whole universe, all of physical matter, the whole world really goes according to Hashem's decree. So I think that's a special thing to take out of that. And finally, I know what skeptics are thinking at this point. You're just pattern matching. You can find structure anywhere if you look hard enough, right? And that's fair. I mean, it's a real concern. So let's do the math. The structure is 3, 3, 3, 4, or 5, 1. 6 elements. If each element can be an integer between 1 and 10, a conservative and fair range, the probability of any 6-element sequence matching is about 1 in 10 million. If you say you'll have a structure of substructures. And now when you factor in the grouping structure, how many ways you could arrange separators among those elements, you're at roughly 1 in 150 million. That's the number, 1 in 150 million, without any subjective interpretation of the significance of the structure itself, purely structurally. For context, the threshold for a scientific discovery at CERN is, a 5 sigma is 1 in 35 million. And that's amongst all of physics, the most precise requirement for fact, 1 in 35 million. Borel's law, the widely cited threshold for dismissing a probability as negligible on a human scale, well cited, is 1 in 1 million. This is before the conceptual parallels, as I mentioned, before the Levi, meaning to connect, before the God particle nickname, before any of it. So just the structure alone clears the bar. And I'll mention, when you put it all in, I think you get 100 trillion. You can check my book, Emunah and Physics, for the exact number. I once asked Rabbi Hopfer, what happens if science changes? What if the standard model gets revisited and the parallel breaks down? And it's sometimes you tie something so closely to the physics and you're worried, like, well, if the science changes, so what does that mean for this concept? And he said something I've thought about ever since. When a person sees deep harmony between Torah and creation, that moment matters. That's Hashem opening someone's eyes. Hashem opened up the person's eyes, and later that understanding might refine, but the wonder was still real, and Hashem brought a person close to him and opened his eyes. And so maybe that's the point, that we live in a time when people leave religion thinking that science made the world smaller, more mechanical, less meaningful. But I understand that any broad-minded person who actually goes deep into the physics knows that the opposite is true. The universe gets stranger the further you go in, super Kabbalistic, more layered, more elegant, more mysterious, with all of these overlaps with Torah. And particles that can't have a precise location and velocity at the same time are mediated by forces carried by invisible mediators. There's a single field giving mass to all of matter. If even the most fundamental building blocks of reality operate according to a hidden structured order from the Torah, so maybe the Torah's insistence that all of creation expresses a divine will doesn't sound primitive anymore. Maybe it sounds exactly right. So I'm not asking you to believe anything today. I'm asking you to feel what it's like when two completely separate systems, one written thousands of years ago, one discovered in the last century, point to the same hidden shape. And ask yourself, what are the odds of that? And more importantly, what does it mean?